Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Welcome to today's Crypto Blast. With myself, Ryan Paisley, and Cam O'Connor from Institutional Fi will be giving a rapid roundup. Well, mainly Cam will be doing it. I'll just be sitting listening, like most of you. We'll be giving a rapid fire update of crypto markets. Um, as I usually say, Institutional Fi is crypto with a tie on. So, although we do occasionally mention things like fart coin, don't. If you're looking for memes and stuff, meme coins, this isn't really the place. But hopefully we add some value, and hopefully we put a smile on your face. But before we do, I'll get the legals out of the way. So as usual, nothing discussed on this space session constitutes trading or investment advice or refers any kind of endorsement by PIQ, Institutional Fi, Cam, or myself. Cam, how are you?
I'm all right. You sound like you are sat in the sunshine at a very, maybe let's say, a place that you don't go very often for a drink.
How very dare you? Yeah, I can't confirm or deny such vicious rumours, but yes, I am sitting with a cigar and in the sun. Yeah, I'm not drinking though.
Oh yeah, do it.
I'm not drinking
Oh,
yet. I'm on the orange juice and lemonades. But enough about me.
you're you're saving yourself.
Exactly. Big night tonight.
Exactly that.
Non-farm pints. Non-farm pints. If you are in London, you fancy some beers. We're at the Oyster Shed from about 4:30. So come on down. Bring your wallets. 'Cause I ain't buying your drinks.
Yeah, and Ryan isn't buying himself drinks, so there you
Yeah, exactly. That's the plan.
go. You go. I make the arrangement. You buy me
Yeah,
pints. This is how
exactly.
it works.
I do the
Yeah.
legwork.
All right. Let's jump into the crypto market recap. We'll start off with the price action for those who are new to the space, and then we'll jump into some news that I've picked out. You may find interesting. Definitely market impacting. Well, could potentially be market impacting. We'll start off with that one. So let's look at the big dog, BTC. BTC traded within a 2.8% range throughout the day on Tuesday. Adding further to that conversation that Bitcoin is continuing to show resilience during, I'm going to quote unquote Trump here, Biden's market.
Yeah,
That
right.
was a,
Yeah, for
yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah, for now, until it does really, really, really well. And then that's going to change. BTC opened up the day today at $96,400 and is currently up 0.5% on the day so far, now trading at $97,000, prices that we've not seen since late February. This means that BTC is, of course, just 3% away from the $100,000 mark per BTC. So BTC looks set to break out after continuing to print a series of higher lows on the daily. And let's see if the bulls can have their way with price action over the weekend.
Uh,
Looking across the east. Oh, go on. Oh.
Oh,
If
you
I
know what? The
was,
worst thing that I could ever have done is discover that I can do noises on spaces. I'm an absolute child. I apologise.
oh dear, I'm looking forward to Monday Spaces with Mr. Brown.
Michael Brown is
And the absolute. Oh dear. All right, at least I'm not Welsh, and at least that wasn't a sheep. There you go. I won't take any offence. ETH made a new 5-day low on Tuesday, around $1,732. However, this followed an 8% rally to the upside and now sits at $1,834. The reason for will include a news story in just a moment, and hopefully this will give a little bit of clarity to that. Moving down the market cap list in no particular order, Solana is trading at $150. XRP is trading at $2.21. BNB is trading at $600. Now, notice within those three altcoins, there's really not been much movement over the last. If you go from a 24-hour period, let's say when we do the spaces at 1 o'clock, I'm going to say London time, their prices have been fairly flat. Sure, we've seen some volatility throughout the day, but over a 24-hour time period, there really hasn't been too much movement in price. And Ryan mentioned it, so we'll include it um, as it is his favorite coin above Bitcoin, I hear. Fartcoin moved 8% on Tuesday and now sits at $1.24.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm glad you. I'm glad you told me that. It takes a load off my mind.
Exactly. Exactly. I know you've been thinking about it. Um, Interestingly, because we didn't have a space yesterday, I'll cover the flows that we saw on the 30th of April as we closed out the month. BTC ended its 8 day of positive net inflows and saw 56 million flow out on a net basis, and Ethereum saw only a very minute amount flow out at $2.3 million. But if we look at toward yesterday's flows from the spot ETFs coming out of the United States, BTC completely reversed that, bringing in over $422 million, and Ethereum $6.5 million. So positive side for the ETFs yesterday, being, I believe, the 1st of May. So going on to the news stories that you may have missed, I think the biggest one, again, we didn't do the spaces yesterday, so we'll recap some news stories over the last 48 hours. The big one was from Ripple, and I'll just read the note from Bloomberg. Ripple proposed a takeover of rival stablecoin provider Circle for around $4 to $5 billion US, a bid that was rejected as considered too low. This is according to people familiar with the matter. While Ripple remains interested in Circle, it hasn't decided whether to make another offer, said the people who asked not to be identified because the deals aren't public. For its part, Circle was focused on following through with the IPO that they filed earlier this month. We do not comment on market rumors, a spokesperson for Circle said in an email statement. As we are currently in a quiet period with the SEC, we cannot comment further on our corporate financial plans. Our long-term goals remain the same. Now, I'll just add to this news story. There's from a news story again following this from Tech Story, a news outlet, are basically pumping out an article that says, Ripple ups the bid from $5 billion to $20 billion after
That's a
rejected
hell of an
initial
increase.
offering. That is a hell of an increase. Again, I'm going to caveat this with, I'm going to say rumors, because Circle aren't commenting on it. Ripple aren't commenting on it anywhere so far either. So yeah, rumors is the big thing here. Where are they getting their information from? How valuable is that source? But that's the news story that's currently circulating. So if you do see it, keep it with a little pinch of salt. Do some more investigating and just wait for those official announcements to come through.
Yes, yeah, exactly that.
So moving across to a story regarding Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin has outlined his key focus areas for 2025, centered on two main themes. First, advancing Ethereum's core infrastructure with emphasis on its long-term roadmap, security, decentralization, and privacy. Second, promoting decentralized ecosystems from a broader perspective, accelerating development in areas such as communication, governance, and foundational infrastructure. The question is now, is this enough to ensure investors and builders confidence to the chain? Well, we saw it was in price action throughout from Tuesday to today, make a new high of the week. However, sold off that move and remained relatively unchanged from around Tuesday. So I'm not entirely sure this is giving investors the confidence that they need for a secure roadmap. But again, we'll continue to follow this story with Ethereum, because they are the number 2 in market cap in an altcoin. So the news there is majorly important for the development of the chain itself. And as we're getting more regulatory clarity moving on, people are going to, they have already been looking to Ethereum to build. They have been building on Ethereum. And if something negative comes out, that could all change. And if it changes, where are they going to? And that's what we need to kind of stay on top of. Coming closer to home here in the UK financial watchdog plans to ban retail investors borrowing to invest in BTC and other crypto assets. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not surprised.
No, it's basically people can't be trusted, so they're going to have to put something in place to kind of help themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically going, well, this is essentially for the most part gambling, especially if you want to argue that point, anybody with me, I'll just show you how many altcoins have been created in the last 2 years alone. We went from around 2022 to current date, where we started off with around 250,000 altcoins. Now that number exceeds to 1.2 billion.
Yeah.
So
massive. And again, if you are taking out loans or getting into debt to do this, that is not a great place to position yourself from the get-go. So a lot of people go, oh, how dare they restrict us like that? But sometimes it's good to be prudent, and I think this is something hat doffed. It's very rare I doff my hat to the FCA, but I think this is a good move.
There we go. We'll move on to some comments from Matt Hogan, who's the chief officer at Bitwise. He stated that the 4 major US wirehouses, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, and UBS, are expected to fully open access to spot Bitcoin ETFs by the end of 2025. So that will be this year. if you're listening on the record sometime in the future. Just on
Welcome
the
from
off
the
chance.
past.
Welcome from the proper past. Look at that. How's the future looking? Can you just
Yeah.
DM?
What's the weather like?
These institutions collectively manage over $10 trillion in client assets. Hogan expects net inflows into spot Bitcoin ETFs to potentially reach a record high this year. If the current trend continues, that or something that is likely to be achieved. Moving on, Visa partnered with Bridge, a startup recently acquired by Stripe, to launch a new product enabling developers to issue stablecoin-backed Visa cards. Bridge will handle back-end operations, including stablecoin balances, drawdowns, and fiat conversions. The product will roll out first I'm just going to say South America. The countries, if you're really interested, are Argentina, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Peru, Chile, or Chile, depending on your pronunciation for that, with merchants receiving payments in local currency. So quite an interesting breakdown there with the partnership between Visa and Bridge. Canary Capital filed for an S1 registration statement with the SEC for the launch of the Canary Staked SEI, so that's SEI ETF, an exchange traded product designed to track the price of SEI and earn additional SEI through participation in the network's POS, which is proof of stake mechanism. Custody for this ETF will be provided by BitGo and Coinbase Custody. Moving on to some other related news in the ETF world, Grayscale launched the Grayscale's Bitcoin Adopters ETF with the ticker BCOR on April 30th on the NYSE, offering exposure to publicly traded companies that hold Bitcoin as part of their corporate treasury. This one mimics the ETF launched by Bitwise in the US. On Tuesday, the Crypto Council for Innovation, so that is the CCI, along with more than 30 organizations, I'm not going to name all the 30 organizations,
Oh, thank
some of
God
them,
for that.
you're welcome, everybody, submitted a letter to the SEC urging that crypto staking be recognized as a technical process rather than a securities transaction. CCI emphasized that staking is vital to network security and decentralization, and called for clearer regulatory guidelines to prevent excessive oversight, stifling innovation, which, I mean, very, very true from a letter going to the SEC there from the CCI. Staking is an absolute key part of the decentralized method. So hopefully this regulation that we saw come into place just a few months ago, or from the proposal, gets reviewed. However, we did see from the SEC's response to Coinbase's CEO Brian Armstrong just a few weeks ago saying that it's not going to happen. So we'll keep on top of this story as it develops.
Yeah.
Singapore Gulf Bank, which is the SGB, a fully licensed digital asset bank, launched the SGB Net, its real-time multi-currency clearing network built to support the growing operational needs of digital asset participants. So further adding to the story that we covered in the past, according to CNBC, Tether said it's preparing to launch a new stablecoin product in the United States as early as the end of this year or early into next year, which will be 2026, which will depend on the progress of the US Congress in the stablecoin legislation, saying that USDT is one of the most successful export products of the United States. So, like I said, again, we did cover this news story a couple of weeks back. Tether is considering to build a new stablecoin for the US market. That just raises so many questions there.
Yeah.
This is kind of it. This going to be it for me on the news front, but this raises so many questions going, oh, so you can't prove that your USDT is actually backed
Well,
one to
this
one.
is it, right? That's I'm very, as we know, you're the smart guy in this conversation, but I'm sitting here going, well, hang on a second, you're kind of, that just raises some unnecessary red flags. Unless I'm misreading it, but yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. Also, and also at best, it's going to cannibalize traffic from or liquidity from the existing Tether, right? I don't know. It all seems a bit much.
Yeah, no, but you raised some very, very good points
Oh,
there, and I
stop
think
it.
it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those. okay, wait and see, are they actually going to launch it, or can they just get their USDT approved? Now, also, if for those who are unaware, USDT has been taken out of Europe under the MiCA regulations. Now, it is expected that Tether are going to be able to bring USDT back to the European markets by the end of 2025. But if they can do that, can they just prove its issuances to enter the US markets? And if they can't, well, that is essentially they can't operate in America
that's
and
the
they
ball
can't
game,
operate
right?
in Europe. Yeah. You go, well, okay, well, let's just create, they're going basically, let's just create a new product and hopefully we can get that in the US and the European markets. Baffles me, if I'm honest. That's why I absolutely love Circle and a big promoter of their company.
Yeah,
But
with you.
that's going to be it from me today.
Awesome. Well, Cam, thank you so much. Listeners, thank you for tuning in, especially all of you, well, the vast majority to play this back on the replay, because we appreciate that not all of you can listen to it live. Again, as I said before, all the time, if you don't already follow Cam, if you don't already follow his Institutional Fi Substack and his Twitter account, do so. If you are trading today, keep it tight. Whatever you're doing this weekend, from myself and Cam, we wish you a excellent weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you on Monday. Goodbye.
See you then. Goodbye.